power of the Spirit to become allied with God's mission and leading in the world to make all things new, as God has indeed promised. The move from come to get to go to give is both critically necessary and spiritually on target. But just one problem. How do you sell that in a consumer age? Go to give is not the message most consumers are trained to hear. It simply doesn't compute on their receiving apparatus. Nor did it compute with disciples who had had 3 years of walking, talking seminars by Mr. Logos himself, the same one persuasively able to draw incredibly large crowds. And let me just add this footnote here. Jesus drew, as we've said before, crowds of people. Inventive ministries work at drawing a crowd, and some in our day are still able to do that. We sometimes disparage their tactics, but this they do understand. You can't change people you can't attract into your sphere of influence. Maybe that's the repeat line. You can't change people you can't attract into your sphere of influence. Okay. So we seem to have a dilemma before us. Jesus said, in effect, to vast crowds of people come to get, and then to his chosen disciples, he gave the alternate sounding message, go to give. Two quite different messages to two quite different audiences. What shall be our take home from this unresolved dilemma? Here's my stab at it. Actually, I'm passing along the thinking and practices of people I happen to trust about this matter. A newly organized congregation in my home synod of Indiana, Kentucky has offered a creative resolution, in my judgment. They enshrined their strategy in the very name of their ministry, which is now a congregation. They call themselves Come to Go. Come to Go. And they write two, not as a T and an O, but as an elevated number 2 with a line under it. Makes kind of for a nice symbol. As if to say that they offer a two-pronged continuing challenge that Janus-like looks in two directions rather than a one-way transition from come to go. And I'll have more to say about that in just a moment. They maintain first that come speaks to persons in our consumer age. Come. You will be royally welcomed by us. Come, in fact, and party with us. Come, all of you, just as you are. We offer you something that will bless you and will grow on you as you journey with us. It's for you. We exist for you, for your well-being, for your needs, for your future. The transformative task for which only the Spirit can enable us is to infuse that kind of genuine welcoming, transfused with a missional consciousness. We rely on the Holy Spirit to transform those who have come to get into those who progressively fall into the spell of wanting to love God back, of desiring to be part of God's missional enterprise. God so loved the world that he gave his Son to go and incarnate a ministry of colossal grace open to all. You can't be around and become enamored with that kind of a missional God before it dawns on you that 2/3 of G-O-D is G-O. And you can't spell G-O-S-P-E-L without its leading G-O. We love to sing in our locale, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Gonna appears 11 times in the version we sing, and sure enough, there's that G-O again as the first two letters in gonna. You can't gonna let your light shine unless you're willing to go. Oh, to be sure, joining in God's missional enterprise is a God-orchestrated process that takes maturational time. Those who first come to get aren't normally changed quickly into those who are willing to go and give. The sanctifying Spirit uses more than quickie weekend events to effect transformations of that magnitude. The transformation necessarily takes on journey dimensions. Thanks again, Pastor Joe. It may take quite a while before one comes to full awareness that Jesus' death and rising again has eternal implications for all his followers who expect eventually to undergo a similar awakening. And as well, it takes a while to discover that the idol of consumerism has infected us with crippling expectations and engulfing enslavement. So we need the new Moses to lead us out of the slavery of getting, a bondage to which we have become so accustomed that we believe it to be our final destiny. We need the new Joshua to lead us into the promised land of a contrasting future. And there will need to be more than a few battles with contending forces, giants opposing our programs and our progress, siren calls to give up the challenging journey and re-embrace the romantic and nostalgic appeals of a traditionalism and its dance steps to which we have become so well accustomed. Come to get dangerously invites capitulation to a consumer culture. And that's part of what we need to renounce. It calls for a burial. Begun with baptismal waters and God's transforming word, it remains a lifelong struggle. It's a continual part of the cost of discipleship. Go to give is the challenging sending commission of the one who not only went before us, but as risen Lord and head of the church, continues to go before us. He says, "Come with me." And it is only when the Spirit of God becomes our power from on high that we can have both the missional motivation and the missional effectiveness to be engaged in that kind of apostolic action of going that is of God's ordaining. I submit that it is precisely the formulation, "come to go," which navigates between what too many may see only as either or choices. You either come and get, or you go to give. The former would entrap us in consumerism, and the latter sounds so heavenly minded that it remains an earthly no sale. What's more, those who naively believe that their sanctification is so advanced that they can survive on an exclusive go-to-give regimen inevitably end up in exhaustion and burnout. Only the Holy Spirit calls, gathers, and enlightens us to brace that grand both and. Both and. Come to go. With its invitational come, it not alone nods to the consumer requirement to attract persons, but reminds us of the continuing necessity for us to come and be repeatedly refreshed by the life-giving and life-renewing waters of God's providing. Thereby refreshed, we become emboldened to go forth and honor then the missional character of our identity as a church sent to renew the face of the earth in alliance with God's intent to make all things new. That's a great, great identity, but it calls for mature Christian disciples. I'm aware that formulaic speech such as this is sometimes more captivating than clarifying. So let me trot by you one more time with slightly different language the heart of these three-worded calls, which may be either temptations or visions.